The world was very different back in 1979. We didn't have a computer in our house. They were for the space program or maybe an enormous company. There was no social media, text messages, surely no YouTube video. And we didn't keep our noses in our phones because the phone was attached to the kitchen wall. Yet, on a small island on the west coast of Scotland, a remote distillery launched its 12-year expression that set the base for a core range that we enjoy today. And that would be this week's Camp Dram. I'm Leanne, and this is Scotch on the Bayou, where we celebrate the wonders of Scotch whiskey and the flavor of life in Louisiana. Today I'm out on our dock on the Lower Grand River at the camp for today's Camp Dram, and that is the Bunnahabhain 12. That west coast island I just mentioned would be the island of Islay. And when you think about Islay, you think about these luxurious smoky, peaty whiskeys. This is not one of those. This is an atypical expression that you would think of from Islay, but it is Islay just the same. But also on Islay, there are non-peated expressions, and Bunnahabhain is known for that. Their core expressions are all non-peated. Now, Bunnahabhain does make some heavily peated whiskeys, one of which is Bunna. I know I'm going to butcher the word, which means peat in Gaelic. And Bunnahabhain is Gaelic for foot of the river. And I love how the distillery has embraced its culture and names many of its expressions with Gaelic names. The problem is I can't pronounce most of them, so I have to kind of write them out phonetically and hope for the best. Bunnahabhain is located on Islay's northeast coast, looking over the Sound of Islay to Jura. And you can see the Paps of Jura from there. It's a beautiful area. So let me know in the comments if you've had the 12-year expression, maybe the 18 are lucky enough to get a 25, and what you think about Bunnahabhain. Is there one in particular that's your favorite? Leave that comment down below. This bottle presents extremely well, just lovely. First and foremost, it comes in at 46.3% ABV, alcohol by volume. Yay, I love that proof. Secondly, it is non-chill filtered and there's no color added to this. When you look at the casking, from what I could find, it's bourbon and sherry. So you're gonna get a little bit of a sweetness, but a balance off of that bourbon cask as well. So let's get into some details. Okay, I'm pretty sure that was an alligator. So let's get into some tasting notes. First of all, let's look at the color. It is just gorgeous. It's this kind of golden coppery honey color, and it's quite oily, pretty viscous, and it just hangs onto the glass really nicely. So on the nose, I'm getting like buckwheat pancakes and maple syrup. I mean, there's this kind of earthy, not peat, just kind of this hearty, malty earthiness. You think about buckwheat pancakes, they're not as sweet as like from the mix pancakes, but you top them with that sweet maple syrup. But there's also like a hint of sea salt, or like a spray of sea spray. You can tell it's hotter than a 40 ABV. So that really comes through too. Let's go for the taste. You kind of have a sweet and spicy thing going on. You get a sweetness, like a vanilla custard up front. It's a little creamy, but there's some nuttiness to it, almost like a black walnut type taste. And then the heat comes in from the front to the mid palate, and it's definitely hanging on there. Okay, the brine follows through from the scent with almost like a little bit of smoke. It's not like a char, or it's almost like a campfire smoke, but barely there. I don't even know if it's there, but I get smoke. That's odd. The mouthfeel is oily. It's not heavy, but it's certainly not light and bright. It's got some definite substance to it. The finish has that heat going on. It's very long lasting. It just pulls out. Sweetness is pretty much non-existent. Again, kind of with the nuttiness and a little bit of salt brine. The finish goes and goes and goes and goes. I appreciate you watching today, and if you like this video, please give it a click on the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. It really does help my channel grow. Bunnahabhain has consistently done great things over all of these years, and I think this dram particularly speaks volume for that, for them to have had this in their core range for 40 plus years. So you know they're doing something right. And I really like this expression. Some days you just are Bunna days, if you know what I mean. You come in from work, you're a little tired, you're not really wanting a heavy duty peat, but you want something that's got a little bit of that salt and you can chill and relax with. And the Bunna 12 is a great expression to do that with. It's always on my bar. However, when it comes to price, you have to really, here's the issue. This bottle is $85 in my market, which is way overpriced. It is a problem with a distributorship here in South Louisiana, and it is not a reflection on the retailers or on the distillery. It's the middleman that's jacking that up. So can you guess how I feel about that? But my friends in Texas, this bottle is like 50 to 60 bucks, and that's a super, super deal. If you're wanting to introduce someone to an Islay whiskey, this would be a really good selection. Before you hit them over the head with some peat, give them a little salt of the earth of Bunnahabhain. And this 12 expression, again, it's just solid, and it's a very fine dram. I have to say, it is so good to finally be back at the camp, to see the water and be on the dock, and we have a little bit of a breeze today, so you may be hearing some rustling around of the cut grass behind the camera. It's just coming on fall for us, so the cypress trees are starting to turn a little red. It's a great time, and no matter what time of the year it is, there's something growing. We have an abundance of vegetation down here in South Louisiana. And today I want to tell you about this really cool plant called a resurrection fern. And a resurrection fern is actually an epiphyte, or an air plant, and it lives on the trunks of cypress and oak trees down here. And we're in a bit of a dry spell at the moment, and so when you see it on a tree, it's all crumbled up and crispy and brown, and you think there's this dead thing growing on the tree. But it's very well and alive, and as soon as we get one of our lovely monsoons, or what we call a frog strangler shower, the moisture in the air and in the tree itself will give life to that fern again, and it will be lush and green and gorgeous, and it will be resurrected. Hence the name resurrection fern. Now, Spanish moss is another air plant that is abundant down here in South Louisiana, and both of those plants, they've adapted to their surroundings in order to thrive. And you think about, there might be a lesson in there. All of these things just add to the beauty of the environment down here at the camp. And that's why Mark and I love to come here and spend time, just relax, chill out by the river, have a dram, and enjoy it. Until next time, I hope to see you here at the camp. Slàinte, y'all.